I think there's two big themes there that you mentioned so far today, like the human side of tech and of fintech, and data-driven side of fintech. And I think so. As educators, I think there's quite a lot that we can encompass or incorporate into our courses based just based on those two themes alone. But what are you seeing at the moment in regards to fintech education? Like, what's the main thrust?
Yeah. Look, I must confess that all these years I have been faced with massive resistance. Especially when I started, everybody said, okay, fintech, what does that mean? It's not even a discipline, it's not even a science. There is not even lots of scholarly work out there. There are no even theories around that. Oh, it's this geeky tech stuff that we need to incorporate in finance and all that. Is it finance? Is it not finance? Where does it sit? And before joining our current department, I was in another department. So basically trying to work cross-departmental, because I was in the innovation and entrepreneurship space, but I was doing fintech work, which means I had to work with the finance teams as well. And trying to bring these two worlds together, it's been so difficult and so much resistance. And also from a cultural point of view, it's very challenging because, again, academics tend to be very protective of what they do. They are not really keen on moving beyond the things they know. And again, I don't want to generalize, but that's my general take. I must admit, it's been a very interesting journey because, as I said, during that time, there were no curriculums, there were no real research. I remember when I started, the first unit that I taught in the Master of FinTech at that time was the Frontiers in FinTech. I was looking for readings and I couldn't really find anything. And now, of course, you can, because things are picking up a lot. Even though still research, I think, in many areas is still very embryonic. But I remember at that time I was building content. I was trying to find guest speakers, and it was very difficult. And but I must admit, what was really interesting at that time was the fact that the curriculum that we developed for the Master of FinTech was industry co-created. And I think that was really fascinating, because when you've got an Australian bank jumping in, when you've got a FinTech jumping in, not only as guest speakers, but they bring a case study, they share their insights, you may even have a site visit, you may even have ability to participate, for students to participate at a conference. They get what is actually, they don't only get the use cases, they primarily, and this is what I do with all the guest speakers that I bring in all my classes, I want the students to be exposed into the thinking. I want the students to be exposed into how they conceptually think about things. And I think this is really fascinating, because to be able to understand and appreciate change, you have to start thinking, how does this organization approach that? And I think that was really fascinating, not only during that time, but spanning also during these 8.5 years, as I said, that I've been with Swinburne. The Master of FinTech was initially, it started back in 2000. Well, it started 2018, but it was put in action, I think, early 2019. And even during the pandemic, I must say, there was still a lot of interest, which shows that what students are also they're looking for fresh perspectives, they're looking for new perspectives, but also I think what they're looking for opportunities, they're looking for professional opportunities. So, and this is also where I think we were very interesting, because we were actually curating and contributing to the curation of the future talent of financial institutions. I've been called, many times from major think tanks, or from major professional providers. I don't want to name names, but calling for and begging for content. Like, okay, we talk about AI, we talk about blockchain, crypto. What does it mean for accounting, for finance, for what does it mean? This is always the question. What does it mean? And I think part of what our students need to understand is they need to be able to bring all these pieces together. So yes, of course, they have to do their professional standards, especially if you're an accountant, if you're a finance person, if you're an economist. But you also need to understand that you will be, when you go into work in industry, you will be exposed and you will be working now with ChatGPT, you'll be working with Microsoft Copilot. So you have to have a kind of readiness. And I think part of what we do here, I mean, I have an assignment in my Innovative Finance 2.0 that students actually work with Copilot. So yes, surface level, but still, even the fact that they experiment and they try to interact and they try to prompt it, it's part of the training. So I think this is where, and what I was doing all these years is I was doing that gradually, but now I think we're moving into the space which is forced because the dynamics are changing. So everybody is rushing to jump in.
That's it. So it seems overall we're trying to build students and graduates that are, work ready, that can apply these technologies in particular, especially AI. But, and again, from that human perspective, know how to incorporate these things. What about, so 5 years from now, is there any predictions that, from the industry point of view, even from what we need to be teaching students, is that, do you think there's anything coming down the pipeline?
Look, what I see is that because technology is jumping and is exponentially growing, it's difficult to make predictions. I think, as I said before, personally, from a finance or accounting or economics point of view, I don't see how different they are or they will be in the future. I mean, again, we talk about go and study finance, go and study FinTech. For me, these are the same things. You can't disassociate these two, in my opinion. But it's a matter of also training our students, again, to think holistically. So you study finance, you're good at numbers, you're good at all this, great, but let's remember that many of these things will be automated. So what is critical for you is, first of all, to understand where do you still fit in the value chain, first of all. What do you make out of it? And also, how do you critically evaluate that? So in the assignments, I said that I use Copilot. Students do one thing, they prompt, so they have to understand what prompting means and ask the right question. But most importantly is to critically evaluate the output of Microsoft Copilot. And this is where I think the domain expertise come in. So you still need the domain expertise. That's not going to change, but you need to apply that and interpret that in a different context, because then you have another input coming in from a tech point of view, Gen AI and the likes. Another example, you've got now numerous organizations using agentic AI. Imagine an organization that has to have human employees and agents. How do these two collaborate? How do these two speak together? Who decides? Who evaluates? Yes, agentic AI may take autonomous decision, but where is the human element coming in? This is, I think, what we need to start teaching our students. The co-collaboration, the coexistence with technological capabilities.
How to work.
Or if you're, let's say, an accountant, if you're now an accountant, by default, you need to know how to be able to audit a smart contract. You by default need to know how to audit a data chain which is on chain, on blockchain. These things you will be asked to do, and believe me, there is so much need for that. But students still go down the traditional pathway. So I think domain expertise will definitely be there and will prevail. But how it is applied, I think this is where the change will come. And I think this is where we need to focus on. How do we make the connections across different disciplines? Does every finance graduate need to have a tech background? Absolutely. I'm not saying that they have to be a geek computer scientist, but they have to have an understanding of how they operate all that.
Well, it's an exciting world we're moving into, for sure. And it's great to be part of, especially from the education point of view, seeing the evolution of things and helping students, helping build industries for the future. But thanks for all your time today, Dimitrios.
Thank you for the invitation.
No, pleasure. And I'll catch up with you again soon.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it.